Good afternoon, this is Nicholas from Gandora Gaming, and before I get this video started, this is just a quick disclaimer for today's upload schedule. You're probably going to be getting like 6 to 7 videos today just from me alone, even including a couple of shorts, just because Hurricane Milton and Hurricane Elaine have finally left Florida, and I can finally have time to go over a whole bunch of cards that Bandai and of course lovely Konami have introduced to us for the Yu-Gi-Oh! And One Piece card games that I was unable to get to because of these hurricanes and then having no power and unable to like properly record videos. There's so many brand new cards for existing archetypes and new leaders for the One Piece card game that I want to go over with you all, but I haven't been able to because, you know, having to deal with 2 hurricanes sucks. So you'll be getting a shit ton of videos today. I'm going to be working my way backwards. I'm going to start with all the Yu-Gi-Oh cards that came out the most recent, and then work my way back to where the cards I haven't got to yet, and then we just go from there. So first things first, last night we got some brand new Gem Knights revealed. If you don't know, Gem Knights is a fusion archetype that Konami always wanted to be like a go second OTK strategy, but it's always ended up being some goofy ass FTK deck. Like, no matter how hard they try to make this deck a go second deck, this deck has always been, hey, I'm here to FTK you because I don't make a good enough board going first, and I can't break your board if I go second. So I really need to resolve my Gem Knight fusions, and I really need to FTK you, or I'm not going to be able to play the game because you're just going to stop me from playing the game, and it's not going to be a lot of fun. So in order to win, I need to FTK you. That's what this deck has always done. And honestly, this deck is still pretty solid. Like, even if Konami didn't give this deck the support that we are going to see right now, I think this deck is a sleeper meta deck in the future. Like, yes, this deck is a gimmicky FTK deck, but all the stuff it got in Power and the Elements are absolutely insane. And I honestly think all it takes is a skill enough pilot, and this deck will be FTKing in the future. So we'll just have to see. We got like 5 new cards revealed, and I'm really excited to see where it goes from here. So first things first, we have a new Gem Knight fusion monster. This is Gem Knight Master Dia Depression. This is a new level 9 Earth Rock fusion effect monster. 3,000 attack, 2,600 defense. The materials are 3 gem monsters. You can only use the first, second, and third effect of this card once per turn. During the main phase, quick effect, you can send this card to the graveyard. Special summon up to 3 non-rock gem monsters with different names from your extra deck, and if you do, or graveyard, extra deck or graveyard, ignoring their summoning conditions. Also, you can't special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except fusion monsters. So that's a pretty interesting effect on its own. It also has the bonus effect that when a Gem Knight fusion monster is destroyed at battle, and this card's in your graveyard, you can quick effect special summon this card back. And then, of course, it says during the main phase of either player's turn, so they can just tribute itself, summon out 3 from the graveyard again. That's a really cool recursive tool. The biggest issue I see with this card is that it locks you into fusions. And the reason why that's a big thing is that, for one, yes, Gem Knights is an entirely fusion-based mechanic. So if you're just playing pure Gem Knights, this restriction does not bother you at all. However, they do have a link. Like, Gem Knight's whole gimmick is that, yes, they're a fusion deck, but one of the support they were given was like Gem Knight Quartz, I think it's called. It's like the Link 2, and it's actually pretty fucking solid. It's a really solid Link 2. Like, if Gem Knight FTK was just a little better FTK, that card could possibly get banned. That's how good that Link 2 is. So the fact that this thing locks you, you can't special summon from the extra deck the rest of the turn, could be a really big restriction. And I can definitely see this being an early play to make him. So maybe you're supposed to make the Link 2, then make this guy. I'm not really sure. This card's really solid. It just generates a shit ton of material. Not to mention, it does special summon from extra deck. I'm not familiar with the Gem Knight's typings. I always assume they're all rocks. But I guess there could be a possibility that the extra deck monsters are not rocks. I mean, this is just cheats out 3 fusion monsters, which could be really strong. And I don't know. I want to see where it goes from here. But it doesn't negate any of the cards and special summons from extra deck or grave. This could be like an insane card. I'm not the best at Gem Knights to tell you. You have to like be a Gem Knight expert to actually like examine if these cards are insane or not. But let's actually go over the brand new Gem Knight cards that are not rock types, because they want to use special summon off these guys from main deck. So let's talk about it. So we have Gem Knight Nephilim, which is basically Shaddoll Construct as a Gem Knight monster. It's a level 4 Light Fairy effect monster, 1550 attack, 1600 defense. You only use the first, second effect, and third effect of this card once per turn. You know a card's broken when it has 3 effects. When this card is normal or special summon, add 1 Gem Knight card from your deck to hand, except herself. Also, any effect damage your opponent takes during the rest of this turn, during the main phase of the rest of this turn, is halved. That's a very interesting effect. So basically it says, hey, we don't want you to FTK anymore. If we give you some really custom broken ass cards and that literally say, hey, any damage you do is halved, then please stop FTKing. We want you to do something else. That's a pretty harsh restriction for this deck, just because this deck so wants the FTK. But even with this one restriction, I can definitely see Gem Knights, if they get good enough support, be able to FTK even with half damage. We'll just have to see. Then the second effect is, during your main phase, immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon 1 Gem Knight monster. So not only is this like the best starter ever, because it literally just says, hey, no more special, add any Gem Knight card for your deck to hand, who cares? Then it gives you immediately another normal summon of a Gem Knight monster from hand. So it's immediately a link 2. So this card plus any other Gem Knight equals the link 2 now. Then its third effect says, if this card is sent from hand or deck to grave, you could send 1 card from your hand to graveyard if you do special summon this card. So this card even has an effect when this card is foolish or discard from hand. This card is a custom card. This card is absolutely insane, and they had to put that burn half restriction onto it, or you would just be FTKing left, right, and center. So I appreciate Konami for doing that, because I'm not a big FTK fan. So I'm glad they're like putting in the work to make sure you don't FTK. Next we have Gem Knight Hollow Core. This is a new level 7 Dark Fiend monster, 1950 attack, 2450 defense. A lot of weird defense and attacks. Based on his artwork, it looks like he's another Gem Knight that's supposed to be a Shaddoll monster. I guess he's Hollow Core, which is like the Shaddoll guy. I'm not really sure. He might be a Zephyr card too. I've seen him before. The Zephyr, Shaddoll lore, all that like dual terminal lore, they have a whole bunch of monsters that are like different archetypes that are like, they look exactly the same because the Shaddoll is like the dead bodies of different characters. So it's really interesting. Really cool artwork. This card has 2 effects. You can send 1 Gem Knight normal monster or Gem Knight fusion from your deck to your graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand defense position. That is absolutely insane. So this card is just a free extender, foolish barreling your Gem Knight normal monsters that use the material for Gem Knight fusion, or just sending Gem Knight fusion to graveyard, allowing you to use Gem Knight fusion's graveyard effect to constantly add it back. See, because if you don't know, Gem Knight fusion is one of the most busted fusion spells in the entire game. Gem Knight fusion, Brilliant fusion, the Brilliance fusion that they got in the Power of the Elements. Like Gem Knights, I will say this, as much of a goofy FTK deck as this is, this deck, or this archetype, has some of the best fusion spells this game has ever seen, and has some of the best artwork this game has ever seen. So as much as I want to like clown on an FTK deck, it's a really cool rock FTK deck. Anyway, it said the effect of this card says, when your opponent activates a card or effect while you control a Gem Knight fusion monster, quick effect, banish 3 Gem Knight cards from your graveyard, including this card. Negate the effects of all Gem Knight monsters. Quick effect, banish 3 Gem Knight monsters from your graveyard, including this card. Negate that effect. Then all Gem Knight monsters you currently control gain 1,000 power. That is a very insane effect. This card is literally saying, hey, I am not only a free extender that foolish burials whatever you want, but I also am a negate for you guys now that also gives 1,000 power to all your fusion monsters and all your Gem Knights in general. That's a really insane effect, and these cards are pretty fucking custom. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Next we have Gem Knight Dispression. This is a normal spell card. You'll activate one of these effects. You only use each effect of this card once per turn. Fusion summon 1 Gem Knight fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field's material. if you have a Gemini Fusion in your graveyard, you can also use up to 2 non-rock Gemini monsters from your deck or extra deck. That is absolutely stupid. And then the second effect says, add 1 gem monster from your deck or banishment to your hand. Also the effect damage your opponent takes during the main phase, the rest of his turn is halved. This card is a custom card. This card's insane. This card literally says, hey bruh, if you're gonna fusion summon a Gem Knight from the extra deck, you can just use 1 monster from hand and then 2 from deck and just summon out the main dude, who can then tribute himself, summon the 2 you just sent to grave onto the field, and just pop out from there. That's an insane effect. This is an insane fusion card. This is why I made a whole rant about how Gem Knights have some of the best fusions. This is an insane fusion card. They have Brilliance, that's on the ban list. They have Gem Knight Fusion, which is a non-once per turn fusion summon. They have this card now, which is absolutely insane. It's basically just Brand Fusion from deck, but a little better, because Brand Fusion, even though it sends materials and gets you like 3 fusions, they have to keep like banishing themselves and shoving themselves back. This card's insane. Like, it has no restrictions. It doesn't lock you into fusions. It doesn't do anything. It just says, hey, if you're going to make a fusion monster with a Gem Knight, you can just use for your extra deck, or hand or field, or if you already have Gem Knight Fusion in your graveyard, just send from deck. Who cares? That is an absolutely stupid effect. And this card is absolutely custom. Like, this is a custom card. All this support is custom as fuck, and I can't believe Gem Knight's got this stuff. Now, I will say it still doesn't fix the problem with Gem Knights, where basically they want to be a go second deck, and I'm actually kind of confused on that, because as much as I want to say this support's broken, this support is insane, which it is, honestly, I think this just makes the FTK better. Like, I know 2 of the effects are like, oh, any effect damage is halved, but I still feel like this deck can FTK. Like, you can choose to not use the second effect of that fusion spell. You can just use the first effect of its fusion spell. And you can, okay, maybe you can get around just having it once with the main deck monster, but who cares? Everything else about these cards are insane. Like, they just keep extending and summoning from deck. These are some really good support cards. I just really want Gem Knights to have a good payoff. That's the biggest issue with Gem Knights. They don't have a payoff. And I think until they get a payoff, they keep making these really cool fusion boss monsters that are basically vanillas. They're just big ass vanillas. And until they get a payoff, they're just going to keep FTKing, because vanillas in 2024, even though how they're like 4,000 attack, it doesn't matter. They're just vanillas. They don't do anything on your opponent's turn. Your opponent will clear them. Meaning, you need to do something unfair. And that's just how the state of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is. Like, I think this support's insane, but I think it just facilitates more FTKs. And in that case, I'm not really a big fan of FTKs. So you all take that with a grain of salt. We'll go on to the next video. Hope you all like and subscribe. If you are a Gemini fan like my friend Amari, you are eating this support alive. Until next time, see ya. Bye-bye.